a couple of Johnny Cash records that I was listening to where there is kind of that curated little bit of curated. I got shit the other day for saying curated. Apparently curated is for stuff in museums. But like people say curated, and it's like this built up.
I think the English language can be used however you want it to.
Thank you. I got so much shit. But like, you know, Johnny Cash, he would talk about how like he was talking about like going to prison before he went to prison, and like to kind of create this persona. And I think that a lot of people are creating a persona for themselves before they actually are like being themselves out on in the real. So like, I mean. And I just because I kind of had Quinlan, do you want to say something?
No. This is how
just
he
his
is.
resting state.
So I mean, I got. There's some that I listened to from on Mother Mary, the new record, where I was not quite sure if it was, you know, kind of like telling other people's stories versus your own, or like trying to figure out. Obviously, or not obviously. Would you say, Bob, you're the main songwriter of Bob Fleming? Okay, so when it comes to telling those kind of, when you're telling specifics, right, versus like arbitrary facts, would you say it's mostly personal or like kind of other people's stories? What is it that you're singing about?
Honestly, it's a pretty mixed bag of it. A lot of the songs definitely are. That being said, there's songs on it where I definitely haven't experienced the exact thing I'm writing about, but it can be as simple as, like, I've fought depression most of my life, so there's never a shortage of things to write about. I'll get you one right there. Yeah, sad boys.
No one is alone. No one's an island. That's all we're going to say. Okay.
But, I mean, it can be as simple as just, like, a fleeting thought during that, and I'll write 3 words down on a notepad, and then I won't touch it for, like, a week. And I'll go back and I'll write what I was feeling at that point. But then you've got songs like Cambria County Blues, where I don't know somebody that actually robbed a gas station in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and got sent to jail for it. But I do know.
But someone did.
Right. That's not out of the realm of thinking.
High possibility.
I know enough about Johnstown, and like that's where my family's from. They've lived there for a very long time to know that that's kind of what that situation pushed them to. So whether it's not always like about my own personal thing, sometimes it's about that. Some of them are very personal.
So yeah, because the main thing that brought that all up for me was Cambria Iron Company. Was it a real place or not? And
It
when I was
was.
listening to you guys talk about it, like you were saying your grandfather and your dad both grew up in was it
In Johnstown. It's
Johnstown.
in Cambria County.
Gotcha. And that was the iron works that they were at?
It was the Cambria Iron Company. It was the main employer in Johnstown forever, up and through the mid-'70s when they shut down and it laid off half the town. So my grandfather worked there. His dad worked there.
Yeah, I mean, shit, this is actually pretty recent. I can't really remember exactly when I was driving, but like, I mean, you learn about the iron boom and bust of America. But
sure.
then I drove past like an iron, not like an iron, like huge fucking mill. Holy shit, I didn't realize they were that fucking.
We were actually there when they were touring solo and I was touring with them. We went through Johnstown and we went to the Cambria Iron Company.
I saw. Was there a video of you guys playing there? Was that what that, or was that?
We didn't play there. We did some photos there.
Yeah, we took some photos. I think
Photo
that one
ops.
was in Ohio.
Other Rust Belt places too that happened.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of abandoned industrial stuff along the Rust Belt. I mean, do you guys tour along that route?
We tour pretty much everywhere.
Anywhere that'll take us.
I think we've played like 38 states at this
42.
point. 42?
When we put it together, it was 42 last time.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, is the three of you guys kind of started everything solo, duo? If you run me through the whole.
Bob really started everything because he is the main the songwriter. Like everything that we've built is based around like his songs and all of that. And then I started singing with him. We toured on that for
12 months.
a long time, many shows. And Quinn is also a singer-songwriter, so he was doing a solo run then that eventually became the band he is now, which is Quinn and Conley and the I-90 Blues. But we spent many, many, many shows on the road together, so he was there for a lot of the foundation building.
But I'm not in this fucking band.
He just plays bass because he likes us.
And that's the kind of the weird thing about this tour too, is Quinn and David are both hired guns on this run. Like I've known them both forever. They're both phenomenal singer-songwriters in their own right as well.
Especially David Hott.
David Hott is amazing.
Get a shot of that mustache.
Yeah, I mean,
You
the
got a shot of that
mustache
mustache right now?
That
He
mustache
fucking
blows
hates
me.
me. No, come on,
And
get
right in there. Just get
Since
right
we've
in there.
already
I'm sorry. I've
punked
been
everybody
slipping to the
else.
accent on accident a couple of times. It's not anything personal. This is kind of who I am a little bit.
I do too, man. Mike good.
Not good.
Well, because so Quinlan, you're from Montana. David, are you from North Carolina? South Carolina? Shit, fuck. Sorry, South Carolina.
He's from Virginia.
From Virginia. So how did you hook up with these guys? What was it that brought you guys together with them?
I was living in Lynchburg a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 now.
About 4 years ago.
And Bob happened to come up with another fellow from Carolina, John Charles Dwyer,
fucking
band,
amazing.
Severed Fingers. All these guys I referred to as the Carolina contingent. Alexa Rose, another shout out. They used to come up to Southside Virginia where I lived and play shows with other friends of mine. So I set them up at a bar. We've actually met at a house show with a friend of mine in Lynchburg who said, hey, I got some people who I'm sure that you'll be really good sharing a stage with. And I had no idea who any of them were, so I was just kind of sitting on the couch waiting for the thing to go down. Somebody mentioned Jason Isbell, and I was like, shit, I think these might actually be my kind of folks. So come to learn that we're all cut from the same cloth, and we just got to working together playing, like, co-headlining shows. And a couple months ago, Bob hit me up because I'd played drums for several bands in the past, and he said, hey, need a drummer for a tour. What are you doing in September? I said, drumming on a tour.
So actually, it's funny because the last South Carolina band we talked to, Late Bloomer, same thing with their drummer Jerry.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And Jared's from
Carolina.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Bristol.
Bristol.
He was from a different.
Yeah, they're from
entirely.
Charlotte. He's from Bristol.
This
and
is
is
how
a great
we
drummer. He
throw
was a
everybody
full
off.
band.
He's like, so where are you guys based? He's like, well, the band
Everywhere.
technically is
Right.
based in Charlotte, but they live in South Carolina.
And now that we've pumped
so
all
they
these
say
other
the
bands, I'm
band's
also
from
going
North
to say.
Carolina. I met Bob when he was
Well,
living
that
in
would-
North Carolina, hence his being part of the
Well,
aforesaid Carolina
I think
contingent.
that there's a lot of that happening now, and again, that's like the tools of the internet. You're able to connect with more people and then go out on the road with more people. I mean, what was it?
for
Was
sure.
it the Gorillas who like none of them had met each other?
Yeah.
Or some. I mean, like
That's
they never met.
And the one dude was from Blur. Oh, woo!
Yeah, the lead singer is from Blair.
Yeah, he's from Blur.
From something.
I don't know any more words to that song.
That's all the words. You know all the words. Yeah, that's all we need to know.
David Hott was also in Blur. Just little known fact.
Actually, I think it was.
David Hott. Was
I think
in
it
Blur.
was just his mustache.
It
Actually,
actually, yeah, it was just-
You know, wait, weren't you in the ad, the new trailer for that Sonic movie?
This interview is over.
I don't find that amusing.
Listen, I love Jim Carrey, so I.
That's fine. I'll,
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's
Hang on. Can we just? They're making a Sonic movie?
oh yeah, come
that's
on.
okay.
Oh, come on, that was like, listen, I'm not on the internet
Wait,
all that.
I thought he had bad shoes, so they
Did
weren't
they
doing it
bring
or
it
something
back
like that.
from the like weird
thought they
live
canceled
action
it.
thing?
I saw like someone fixed it and they made him like way more cartoony, like the original Sonic.
Oh, okay.
like-
Because
like
it was
Looney
kind of
Tunes.
scary what I
Yeah.
saw on the internet.
Well,
The teeth
whole
and stuff.
thing, exactly. That's what everyone was really hung up on the teeth.
That's what I remember hearing about the most was the
Paralysis
teeth.
nightmare.
And then it went away.
Dude, if there's a way to
From my
just
Facebook
fuck
feed,
up
so
an
it's
interview
like-
about your band, bring Quinlan Conley.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Wait, are we talking
Okay,
about
all right,
your
all right.
band or my band
All
or
right.
Sonic the
All right,
Hedgehog?
all right.
Should I eat
Listen,
this pizza?
We are on No Experience. This is how it goes. It just goes wherever. And
I love
let's
it.
try and bring it back. But
We're all
I
gonna
mean,
go watch Sonic later.
Yes, there's who the fuck. Listen, this is the part. It's just supposed to be fun and stupid. That's all.
Well, that's me.
Personally, I love the Looney Tunes movies.
For sure.
Space Jam,
Space Jam
the
is
other
a
ones.
classic.
Are you
What was the
comparing
one
this
that had
interview to a
Costello?
Looney Tunes movie?
Are you not?
I checked out for a second.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Ric Flair.
I guess we can get back to one of these things.
Oh goodness!
Nice.
So I mean, okay. Here's what I want to know. So if you, like, I like to look back. Like if you go into like the macro genres, like the huge overarching umbrellas.
Sure.
You guys would probably be considered under the country genre in a little bit, and of course, like we're the North
sure.
guys from the South, you might know a little bit more about country than I do. Again, a little bit more rock and punk rock kind of influences.
There's no country in the South.
What?
What?
Quinn.
Nothing.
How do you guys feel about the current trend of country music? Do you have a bad taste in your mouth for like how I am saying that? In that I know like 2 or 3
never mind.
because
Go
I
ahead,
have
Quinn.
sisters. But like I also have recently found Sturgill Simpson. I like
Right.
Turtles
There
all
you
the
go.
way.
That's good. I like him a lot.
Right, like there is still
Sure.
good country music, and I feel that way a lot about like rock music. Is that there's a lot
Sure.
of pop rock and stuff like that, where like pop country.
I
There's
think
a
at
lot
the-
of great
or whatever.
music. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's all like getting the
Right.
attention and funding that it should.
So, do you guys have some
For
good
sure.
ones
I've got a
to
bunch.
give out? All right, additional.
As far as like the country music thing, because it's gonna go one of 2 ways. Like a lot of times now, it's either like what you hear on the radio, and it's just a bunch of white dudes rapping about their trucks and Bud Light and girls and
Hey,
dogs.
girls.
Steve Earle
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Earle
Hey,
said
girl.
it was
Tractor sexy.
Steve Earle said it was hip hop for white people who are afraid of black people.
Pretty much.
Yes.
If you think about it, that's really what it is.
Steve Earle does whatever he wants.
But and then on the other side, you've got people like Sturgill Simpson. You've got Jason Isbell, the rest of the drive-by truckers with like Patterson Hood and Cooley. They were just phenomenal songwriters, and they'd fall in the country label just as much as they'd fall in rock and roll. But then on the side of it, where people who aren't getting that kind of recognition, we've toured the country and played with some of the best country artists I've ever heard. Like David Hott is one of the best country singer-songwriters I've ever listened to.
Can confirm.
It's a solid confirm.
I mean, honestly
Straight
though,
up
if
facts.
you're looking for country music and you're not listening to Alexa Rose, you're messing up.
Sure. John Charles Dwyer. There's so many talented people.
Yeah, there's a great country
Everywhere.
in Montana. There's a band called the Band of Drifters. They're so fucking good, and they're like
Cut to the Quinlan
old school-
Conley show.
old school honky tonk. You know, like boot scooting, fucking polish the
Yeah.
dance floor stuff,
Yeah.
and like nobody. I mean, like people come out and see him play and shit in Montana, but like like they go out on the road and there's
sure.
like I mean, there's just no support for the real shit, I guess.
Well, I feel
The
like
fighting
I
side.
the fighting side in St. Louis.
Yeah, those guys are dope. That's the best honky tonk band in the world.
They wrote a
Oh,
honky
yeah.
tonk song about me. I'm
They
diabetic
did.
and I almost died. And they made a compilation with a bunch
He
of
dies
people
a
on it.
lot.
And they wrote a honky tonk song about me needing to slow it down a little bit. So
Slow it on down.
that's how I've made
What's
it.
it called?
It's called Slow It On Down.
On Down.
Yeah. By the fighting side. It's written about me. I've made it. They made a honky tonk song about me.
You didn't even have to
Not many
actually
people can say
die.
that.
Right. It's pretty cool. I showed it to David as soon as he got off the train.
Well, I think when it comes
Can
to a lot
confirm.
I think when it comes to a lot of like regional music, there is a little bit of watering down that has to happen for it to apply to the rest of the country. I think I've watched a lot of. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different viewpoints going on right now. One of my favorite, there was some comedian was talking about like, do you really think like Hungary's that much different than like Italy as to Maine versus like Texas? Like,
Right.
there's different people, and I think that pop kind of waters it down and makes it palpable to everybody. Like Florida Georgia Line's not.
Dude, they
country.
make
I don't
it
think anyone believes
in
that.
a science lab.
I'm assuming
No, they
that
make it
you're.
in a-
that-
And that's-
Also,
it
they
takes
still
it takes
like
the true
pop
heart
R&B
out of it.
beats.
Well, I feel like
For
this
sure.
interview is
Bums me
geared
out.
toward people who actually care about music, and you got to realize that the vast majority of people who listen to and buy music don't care about music. They just want something with a good beat they can tap their toe to.
So
And
do you guys
that
have
doesn't necessarily
anything
mean they
that-
need any kind of substance in the vocals, or that the songs are about the
Solid
words
tune.
in the songs,
Right.
which is what makes this band. Is Bob writes great songs. Like, we're just here to back it up and give it the dynamics that it requires musically. But that's all there serving one role, which is to like make you have an emotional reaction to the music. That's why it's great playing a room like this, where everybody, including the staff, is stock still looking at you, because not only is nobody ordering a drink, like the staff whose boss would come in and say, hey, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean, are saying, fuck this, I'm actually having a good time at work right now. Like, that's when you know he's doing something right, because he wrote the songs that make people react that way. That we can play a part in that, it's just a really good experience as a team, But like, Florida Georgia Line is a bunch of people who like get paid to do something that is very, very sellable. What we do isn't very, very sellable, but sometimes we have a good night.
There's tens of dollars to be made doing this.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, but like you said, I've thought of these pop bands like when they hit that national. Some acts when they hit that national level, they become almost like a Broadway act as opposed to an actual artist. Like they're propped up by the idea, and there's everything around it that makes them who they are. Do you guys have anybody that right now you're like, oh, this band is like doing it right? Like
Velvet Devils.
What?
I've been trying to get that
Accurate.
in there.
The first thing he said all night. That's it.
Velvet Devils is Hunter's
Velvet Devils.
other band.
Velvet Devils. No, yes, it's about their
where are they
band.
out
We're out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
But I mean, the whole gist behind it is it's kind of like Queens of the Stone Age mixed with
But
Arctic Monkeys.
good.
And I mean, it's not like underground rock and roll, but it's more of, at least my personal agenda for it is that I want to make rock music like danceable again. You know, I hate seeing people at rock shows that like just stand still with their arms crossed. Like I want to move your ass
You got a
around.
boogie, man.
Yeah, it's dancing.
Trying to
Like,
boogie.
I don't necessarily like consider it like pop rock, but like there's still some sludginess to it. But I mean, I feel like it appeals to a wide audience. you know, but-
yeah. What kind of audience do you think is most appealed to by them?
Well, you can go to velvetdevils.bandcamp.com.
It's like
Find out for yourself.
rock and roll.
It is.
Not for your own band.
I know. Well, we're gonna do the second one. You can find us on our Bandcamp and pretty much every streaming platform. We're on Napster.
Yeah.
Napster, it's like on streaming.
Those motherfuckers.
Yeah. The future is here. Napster's back.
The future was in
Napster was a
1984
thing.
when
It was
Napster
like
started.
10 years old.
Fuck Metallica.
All right, well, we can finish up a little bit. They're kind of closing down here a little bit. Surprise, surprise, the band's stopping, everyone leaves. But when we were talking, again, one of the things you said when you were up there was that you guys were going to play a bunch of different songs that were sad at different tempos.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to the new album, the Mother Mary, especially versus the 2016 album, which we'll get back to.
Mm-hmm.
First off, how do you pronounce that word?
Which one?
Hooray.
Hooray.
Yeah, it's a Gaelic word. My dude over here, Bob.
Yeah.
It means a homesickness for a home you can't.
Thought it was Welsh.
Or that
All
may
right,
have
so
never
hang on.
existed.
So hang on.
The
This
Welsh
is
are
gonna- this is
Gaelic.
going to be good. So for the new album, not only that I think it was sad at different tempos, I thought it was different kinds of sad
Sure.
at different kinds of tempos. Because I think that when people say it's like, oh, it's sad music, it's like, fuck, what kind of sad?
Right.
There's so many different kinds of sad.
Human.
We're
For sure.
covering all of your emotional
Yes.
needs.
That's
Exactly.
when Bob and I started hanging out together, and the songs that he wrote, like, if I was, I wouldn't even describe him as sad. I'd describe him as human. Like,
Yeah.
we were talking outside earlier about how important it is for people. Like, we're so kind of stifled in this country about like feeling like every range of emotion, you know, and like if women do that, then they're crazy, and if dudes do that, then they're a pussy or whatever, right? And like, you know, a lot of playing music, and I guess I'll say this, but I think maybe I speak for everybody, is that, you know, playing music is and writing it especially is about observing the human condition around you and the human condition in yourself. And like, if you're writing a Florida Georgia Line song about whatever, my pickup truck or whatever, like, and then you listen to like Bruce Springsteen sing about pickup truck, and it's like, we've all driven that pickup truck,
Right.
like whether we've ever driven a pickup truck, like, so it's an observation of, you know, the human condition in ourselves and the human condition that we see. And I think Bob does that a lot better than me, is looks out and sees things and writes about them as they pertain to himself. And that's something I've always liked about his writing.
And I heard Jason Isbell in an interview one time. He said that the guy asked him, well, now that you've gotten married and you're in love, like, what are you going to write about? Like, you're not heartbroken anymore. And he just answered, like, as if there aren't a million things every day that break your heart. Like, I think people a lot of times hear sad song and automatically it's going to be about like a significant other or something like that. It can be anything. There's so much in the world that breaks your heart today.
Every day.
Every day. But I think the main focus on, at least my songwriting and like what I like to do is, it's sad. I mean, life is sad a lot of times, but it's not hopeless.
Yeah.
There's always like at least something there. It's not, because I mean, if there wasn't, what's the point of it?
Yeah, and I think
There's
that's
always
that's something
something
that Springsteen just like that he captures that really well. Where it's like a sad feeling, but you're like,
It's my real dad.
Happy
birthday, Dad.
It's all our
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dad.
70th birthday.
yeah, and like that. It just is. It is a sad, but it's like you're right. It's like there's this element of like to the next bit, like where it's gonna be okay.
Well, that's what, like, at its root, we all play folk music. Like, even, I mean, Hunter's in a rock and roll band. I'm in a punk rock band, but it's all folk music.
Yeah.
Because it's music of the people. And if you're not writing about the people that you see, or people that you know, or yourself, then you're not really writing anything.
I think a lot of there's I don't know if you guys catch this at all when you come through and tour around here. There's a lot of like Midwestern music that pops up, and I almost think of it as it's like folk punk kind of where it's very, very melodic, but it's very, very specific as well. And I think that's like the big distinction that I make is that it's stories, and sometimes people don't connect with it and they'll say like, oh, like that music is stupid. It's like, hey, like, I don't know, train goes through my town, I like hanging out with my friends, like it's not always bad. Like I think that it connects with people on a certain level, and like we were talking about, like it's not a national level, but not every single song has to be like Friday night go out song.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Sometimes
there's different
it can be
levels.
like 2 weeks of crippling depression laying in a bed.
Or like a moment that you caught and and then you go back and like, well, I can think of other things that are kind of on that same level.
It's
So
about telling stories.
That's it. And I mean, at the end of the day, like that's always been what I wanted to do with songwriting. Is I'm a storyteller, and a lot of people have come up and be like, "Are you okay?" Like they've come up after shows and they're like,
And you're like,
"You all right,
"No."
man?" I was like, "I'm fine."
Like, this helped me get through it.
it's an encapsulating in a projection of a finite moment that was like, holy shit, like, what the fuck was that? And then you like blow that up and then you kind of expand upon it as opposed to just like passing over it.
Right.
I
And
think
the
that's
best
important.
part of that is like, I probably won't feel the same way like I did when I wrote that song the day after.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you there's somebody else out there that's feeling that if they can listen to that and get hope from it, that's all I could hope for.
I mean, that's what attracted me to any kind of music in the first place, was someone captured a feeling or a moment that I could personally relate to, and it was like, yes, this does something for me because of that.
Bob and I have talked before about how when you write a song anyway, like you write it, like him and I, how we write, it's like you write it for yourself. You write it for yourself in that moment, whether it's introspective or retrospective or whatever. But as soon as you like play it, it's for everybody's song. It's not my song anymore. And the way that I was feeling,
for the people.
It's for the people. I mean, that's the other part of folk music is like not only is folk music made by the people, but it's also for the people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, and again, going back to the internet, like literally once you put it out, it's like it's fucking not yours anymore.
Yeah.
And especially as like small bands, like it never was yours in the first place. So it's like it's fucking 2.5 minutes of sound that I didn't get paid to make. I didn't get paid to put it out. I just want people to listen to it.
For sure.
That's all that. And if
And
someone
now,
connects to it, it's fine.
I checked the Spotify for artists. You can like see where people are streaming it. There's like 30 different countries people are streaming that record right now.
That's
Which
awesome.
is wild. Like I've never been to any. I've never left the country, but there's people in France who. There's one guy in France who every time we put something out, he always pre-orders it. He's always sharing about what we're doing. It's cool. I've never met him.
What's his name?
Terrence Win. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Terrence Wimmer.
Yeah.
This one goes out to Terrence
He's
Wimmer.
an artist too. He's a beautiful artist, but
Yeah.
I'm like across the world. Like I guess something reached out to him, and it makes me not like
That's
proud.
the beauty of the
but, like,
internet
really
now,
happy.
anyways.
That is like the good bit. That's the good bit. Everyone was like, "There's Nazis," and they're Nazis.
Yeah. Oh,
there's
Let's not be-
Nazis.
Let's be clear, there are Nazis.
We're gonna take
But at
care
the
of
same
that,
time,
though.
you're like, there's some guy in France who.
And I bet that guy doesn't like Nazis.
I bet he doesn't. I bet
Turns
Terrence
out
fucking
Nazis
hates
are not very
Nazis.
popular in Europe.
Right.
Really?
Turns out they're not very
They had a
popular
bit to do
anyway.
about it.
All right, rewind like 30 seconds. We were talking about the album, just so we can close out on this. 'Cause I want to know because Hireth
Hooray. Yeah.
fuck me, came out in 2016. Mother Mary came out 2019. There's definitely progression between the two. There's a lot more featured artists on the last one, of them might have been more with you guys trying to still figure out the lineup. I wasn't sure about.
We put a split out, just the two of us, of just four, just murder ballads, like old country style murder ballads that we put out. But on Hiraeth, it was I wrote all the songs, I recorded all my parts, and then John Charles Dwyer and Alexa Rose, 2 other North Carolina musicians that I'm really good friends with, came up and we recorded it in a cabin in the middle of the woods in Tennessee. Snowed, it was beautiful, and they came up and sang on it, and
That's awesome.
yeah.
So then I want to know that maybe Bobby, or maybe the best person to ask about this, the progression from 2016 to why you're releasing the album this year, and how you all have changed, or how the band has changed in those years. What is it that we were like, 2019 is the year to fucking do it, or was it a progression of like, we finally got this out in 2019? What was the journey?
It was definitely a progression. I think the biggest thing was once Dawn and I met, we booked I'd never toured before. I'd played like a few weekenders in Virginia, or like I'd played all over North Carolina, but I'd never just gotten in a car and driven 500 miles to play a show to strangers. And then we started doing what we were doing, and we had like a week tour booked up to Chicago and back. It was going to be just there, back to work. And about a month and a half before it, we just drove to work, and we were like, man, this fucking sucks. Like, do you just want to not come back?
Like, we could just do this tour and like just keep booking shows and like
Forever.
not come back to where.
And-
it was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do that.
We did that. We lived in a Honda Element for 11 months straight. We met
We were talking
some
about
of
this
our best
earlier.
friends
How many
doing
shows
it.
did we do? in that time period?
170
70 something shows?
Yeah, because I did 186 that year.
Yeah.
And you guys were like 10 shows behind.
Yeah, so
But-
you had already like started out.
Honestly, like before that, I'd been to Pennsylvania, I'd been to Virginia, I'd been to Florida and North Carolina. That was the only part of the country I'd ever seen. So I think getting to travel and see places and meet new people from different backgrounds, like it changed a lot of how I write songs. But also it made me want to kind of just make it bigger, and that's where the full band came in. After that long run with just Dawn and I, who most of the time Quinn was there touring behind us in his Chevy Blazer, and he just kind of relit the fire under my ass of my love for like punk rock and rock and roll music and all that. And I had it set in my head like, we're gonna make a rock and roll record. Like, I wanted to be as far away sound-wise as from everything else I've ever done, and it was. I found Hunter, who's been there since the beginning of it, with Dawn and I. as
So
our
you put out
guitar player.
a status, because I didn't.
Yeah.
Cause I think my daughter was just born. She's like a year old. I haven't done music for like a year up to that point. I saw a status by him. He's like, "Don't you know any lead guitar players or whatever like that?" I was like, "Well, I'm not fucking doing anything. I'll do something." And immediately, as soon as I responded, he hit me up. He's like, "Well, do you want to come record on this record?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
And like our full-time bass player Ryan Southwell, he just had a baby about 6 months ago. That's why he's not on this tour too.
Also because he's just
Hank
afraid
is
of me.
8.
He's afraid of
He's a
touring.
coward.
As far as drums go, in the studio, we hired what we thought was the absolute best drummer in North Carolina.
He's amazing.
And he
He
is.
plays in a band called Hectorina, and he plays in a band called Dinner Rabbits,
His
and
name's
he's just
John Harrell.
he did such a good job recording those drums, and he was like pretty involved in composing the way they were
Yeah,
with the full
because
band.
Bob had written these songs and we had structured how we were singing them, but they, neither of us could write bass or drums or anything like that. And John and Ryan came in and they really went a long way into being like, hey, we're going to put, what do you think about a stop here? And what if we do this? And then the guy that recorded and produced
Daniel
Mother
Hodges.
Mary, Daniel, he came in and kind of further produced it and was like, what if we move this around like that, do this like that. So and it helped, I feel like me for sure, and how to learn a lot about how to structure music for fuller bands.
Yeah,
It was basically just a process of us learning how to play with others.
That was basically just a process of us
I had to
learning
learn how
music.
to-
It's good.
I had to learn how to play rhythm guitar, and I've been playing guitar since I was 6 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was awesome. That's correct answer. Well done. That's just what I noticed when I was listening to the difference between the two is what it really was kind of centered around the singer-songwriter, and then in the newer record it was definitely more dynamic. I love Whippin' was my favorite with the rock, with very, very up tempo, whereas I think on Bandcamp it started with Cambria County Blues, whereas like that really, really raw sound, especially on the drums, where it was like, again, the whole dynamic of not every song is going to sound and have the same kind of feeling for each one. But I just thought it was awesome. And let's see, that we're on the end bit here, so I'm going to make sure we say thank you to The Loving Touch.
Yay! This venue rules.
Uptown Dirt. This venue is really nice. And the green room, which they just opened, which was that area back there. Awesome. Make sure that you check out Bob Fleming and the Cambria Iron Company. Pre-order the vinyl on
Bandcamp. You can get everything else from now. The records that came out this past Friday on the 13th. The vinyl will be here by the time we come back from this tour.
Awesome.
So we're gonna mail them all out.
Mail them all out in the next days.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, thank you to David Hunter, Bob, Don, Quinlan.
Yay! Spencer!
All right, this has been No Experience.
Sweet. And now you're here too.
You're in the band.
Slightly more.
Yeah, get the band.
Slightly more experience. Thanks, guys.
All right, love you, bye. I didn't even plug mine once.
If you can ever bring yourself to join